Hey everyone, welcome to the show, episode 46, North Melbourne Draft Chats. So we're going to talk about the North Melbourne Football Club today, the Kangaroos. So who did Clarko pick? What players did he go with this year? So let's talk about the first pick. At pick 16, Lachy Doveston. Pick 26, Blake Threadgold. Pick 48, Hugo Makundo. So we're going to talk about the first player that they got, Lachy Doveston. So as I said, pick 16, the small forward. So a bit of a surprise. They went with a small forward. And they also traded to get a small forward. I think he signed as a free agent. So Spargo. Now they got Lachy Doveston, standing at 178 centimetres. He plays at small forward position. Dangerous small forward who plays with a bit of swagger. Also has speed and the capability of impacting the scoreboard and applying great tackle pressure on his opponents. So yeah, it explains a bit about him, a small forward, good pressure, a bit like a Nick Watson, but for the Roos. So Lachy Doveston had already established himself as one to watch. He played very well for Vic Metro at the Under-16s Championships in 2023. He was named on the interchange in the All-Australian side, and after surprisingly being left out of the National Academy for 2025, the talented small forward clearly had a point to prove and ended up producing a year full of highlights for the small forward package. Doveston was named in the Coates Talent League Team of the Year after his consistent season for the Eastern Rangers. He averaged 16 disposals and kicked 38 goals across 16 games, building upon his solid bottom age campaign in 2024. His 24 disposals and two goals in the grand final was crucial to his side. He ran out 15-point winners against the three-time reigning champions Sandringham, so quite a good feat there. Kicked a couple snags, 24 touches. It won by 15 points, taking down the three-time champs. So, well done to the lad. But for Vic Metro, he was similarly damaging, averaging more than 2 goals a game and 13 disposals across all 4 games. His standout performance came in the 7-goal victory over the Allies, where he drilled 4 majors and had 18 disposals. He was subsequently included in the National Championships All-Australian side for 2025. So yeah, quite a good start. I mean, along with him and Pekka, probably, a couple of the good small forwards throughout the competition. And I've named a few that were in Vic country that are quite good that, some missed out, which didn't make much sense. But yeah, he was in the third sort of team, but produced a good Coates League talent season and performed quite well, as I mentioned previously. He did also feature at VFL level for Box Hill Hawks, where his tenacity translated into successful ability to play the game. He finished around 20 clash as an eventual Premier Footscray with 18 disposals and 1 goal 3, showcasing his ability to impact the next level. Late in the year, he provided his athletic potential, testing very well at the National Combine to register the 4th best ever agility time of 7.7 seconds. So as I mentioned, in my previous podcast with the Tool Guys, they don't quite obviously make the agility tests, and this is the smaller guys' bread and butter. So 7.7 seconds, equaling the 4th best ever time. It's quite good. Pretty happy with that. We'll just talk about his strengths. So his strengths obviously is agility, being that highly rated. consistency, defensive pressure, scoreboard impact, speed, work rate. It needs to work on his goal kicking accuracy and size. When he was under a bit more pressure at the higher level, he did kick 1 goal 3, which is obviously why he needs to work on his accuracy in front of goal. Despite what his goal kicking record would indicate, Doveston is not just a stay-at-home small forward. The crafty small forward goes out of his way to impact contests and provide an overlap, run, and speed. He also is a release option, so he works up hard and up and down the ground to link up the chain link of play. He can also dart away from traffic and drill a low pass leading towards his teammates, making him a threat across the half forward. So yeah, could be a great half forward. I'd assume he'd probably start in the pocket and Spargo may start as the half forward, or you could have them two running off the half forward flank. Along with Paul Curtis. Obviously Paul Curtis, you probably want him and Spargo high up the ground, so I'd assume that he'd probably play at the pocket. Doveston's impact outside of the forward line 50 arc is also a feature of his game that aided him when he stepped up to the VFL level. When those forward 50 entries were coming in frequently, Doveston was able to create turnovers and also help transition the ball from end to end, as I mentioned, with the chain link of play. That kind of work rate will hold him well and good as a multi-dimensional prospect who can hurt the opposition in different ways. So both ways. You want him to be a defensively minded player, also attacking. So that sounds like he's got that to his bow. And he also will need further development in the midfield, which is a different craft that he'll have to provide to be a stoppage threat around the ground. He was also relatively light framed and stands at only 178 centimetres, which is not quite tall. It also could potentially limit his ability to play on ball at senior level. Although his agility and tenacity makes him hard to get a hold of when in possession of the ball. He also has the time and also evasiveness of a classic small forward build. But what he lacks in mass he makes up for his sheer relentless attack on the ball, and also the bit of swagger, like I mentioned, and a bit of attitude. He largely makes up for it, and his unrelenting and willingness to impose himself on the game. He has a never say die attitude, which I mentioned with his attitude, which is good. Determination for the small lad, I like it. Solid endurance base, which means he's dangerous to the final siren, and also evidenced by his match-winning final minute goal against the Young Guns for Vic Metro. Despite all this, he's an option on the ball and will also be an expectation. It spends most of his time forward, as I mentioned. The role that he'll probably play at North Melbourne, probably be in the pocket. In the 2025 season of the Coates Talent League, Doveston was second most goal scorer for the league for that year, and an impressive feat for a small forward. Could have been even more spectacular haul, but he has had some work to do finishing in front of goal, and more importantly, finds his way to rack up the goals on the scoreboard instead of behind. So just one thing he needs to work on. So yeah, North Melbourne has seen something in him and they picked him up quite highly, so that they've needed a small forward to work around Lachy's feet. Yeah, I could arguably say they needed maybe another tall forward. Also, I guess they got Darling last year, so maybe they needed a couple guys to work around their feet, and they're gone with Doveston. So now we're going to talk about the centre back for the South Australian undefeated side. So Blake Threadgold, pick 26, which is an absolute steal of a draft pick, as many teams elected to go for midfielders. The defenders like this in the South Australian undefeated side just kept slipping to late. Centre 194 centimetres. Indicates to me he'll play a centre half back role. He's an athletic key defender who thrives on shutting down dangerous forwards, but also can peel off to intercept. Just like to make a mention, he obviously played in the South Australian undefeated side. And his coach, Tony Bamford, was lucky enough I got to play under him with the Magpies there with my Guernsey. He's a great coach, and yeah, he moved on from coaching Port into a few other development roles. Ended up coaching the South Australian state side, and coached Blake and the undefeated side. And what he mentioned in the Advertiser, which is the Adelaide paper, that he reminds him of Andrew Harris from Brisbane. And his ability to be a key defender. He runs like him. Very similar. So he carries the football like him. If you actually watch him play, obviously not as tall as him. I'm not too fussed about the height at the moment because he's still growing, so we don't know where he's going to get to. He obviously, he's 200 centimetres, but so Blake Threadgold made every post a winner in the 2025. Even despite his untimely setback as a key defender, missed 3 of the National Championships games with a broken hand. But he returned to play the game for South Australia to take out the undefeated championship. So he come back in to an undefeated side and held up his game and played his role. He also went on to win the SANFL Under-18s flag with Sturt, and was adjudged best on ground for his 14 disposals and 12 marks against West Adelaide. So yeah, great stats. Was best on ground, obviously 12 marks. I don't know how many were intercepting with this, but 14 disposals. So he runs and carries the ball quite well for a centre-half back. While he looks as a natural defender, his ability to shut down dangerous forwards, Threadgold originally hit the state scene as a ruck/forward under 16 level. He's thrown into every key position for Sturt. At times this season, he provided to be a reliable team player along the way with further proven ability at the National Combine Draft Combine, where he achieved 3 top 10 results across the event, which is quite impressive for a key defender. Threadgold grew up as a Crows supporter who watches the likes of Josh Worrell, Darcy Moore to improve his game. Yeah, I mean, I see a bit of Darcy Moore in him too, but I feel like more of as I mentioned before, and his own game, he provides himself on desperation and his ability to leap, and traits of both which he possesses. Threadgold is now in line. He's obviously a top key defender. Best on ground in the SANFL Under-18s Grand Final. Got the ability to play a state game, only though it was one, but he was in the most important game. It was the 2 best teams going at it. So we'll just talk about his strengths. His strengths are obviously aerial ability, athleticism, lockdown defense, one-on-ones, reading the play, versatility, improvements, decision-making, production. I'll just pull that one up right now. I think whoever wrote these notes. I have some of my own notes, but then I have some what people have been saying. His decision making is actually quite good. Didn't have any issues with that with the game I saw. I thought his ability to run across the as a key defender was quite good. You don't see Harris Andrews making many mistakes. So yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that take, and I think we got that one wrong there. And I think, he's quite similar to Harris Andrews. I'm just pulling up his stats now. Yeah, so he's 200 centimetres, so there's a bit of a height difference. But you look at the way they carry the ball across the ground, it is very similar. Probably will be more of a defender that can be taking intercepting marks. And I think they've got enough players that maybe were over 195 centimetres anyway. North Melbourne, there's a few there. I believe Dawson's one of them. They've got, a couple of them, but, they've got a couple of tall players. Some play a halfback role really, really well, where they can use him more as a lockdown. So, he's a reliable lockdown defender who thrives on big matchups. In the 3 of his last 4 SANFL under-18 appearances this year, he had the job of shutting down West Adelaide's spearhead Mitchell Marsh, which arguably was the best forward in the whole draft altogether, who was considered to be a first-round prospect. That's what happened. He went as the Crows' first pick. He booted 3 goals in the round 18 clash, and in the semi-finals, Threadgold kept him without a major from 5 touches. So, absolutely shut him down. And, Threadgold kept him without a major for 5 touches in his best on ground before. Okay, so that was, he earlier in the year did that. He kicked 3 goals on Threadgold. Obviously, Threadgold worked on his craft. After state championships, he kept Mitch Marsh in the SANFL Grand Final to only 5 touches and the major. So, not much impact when they're relying on him a lot. He's a team-oriented defender who is gutsy aerial competitor, able to play either way. The percentages with timely spoils, also be able to clunk a big intercepting mark at full stretch. So his ability to mark it above his head at full stretch. He's difficult to beat one-on-one, but adjusted his game at the back end of the year to become a little more daring, and also the ability to back his style and reading the play, and moves off the mark quite early, which he hits in front of his direct opponents, and also to cut off the opposition's attack. This allowed Threadgold to add his athleticism into the game, and he put all of that on the showcase with the top 10 finishes at the National Combine, 3 top 10 finishes at the National Combine, placing 7th in the 20-metre sprint, which is great for his size. 194-centimetre player moving that quick means he's going to get to the ball very quick and quicker than his opponents. Equal 8th in the standing vertical jump at 71 centimetres, which is quite good, a good jump. Equal 4th in the running vertical jump at 89 centimetres, which translates to a great aerial ability and also speed to close out in the contest, which I just mentioned. And staying in front of the leading opponents or having a leap to go over and punch and spoil. Threadgold's speed is also handy as he continues to evolve as attacking end. His capability of getting ahead of the ball and becoming a leaking player in transition and looking comfortable when carrying the ball through the middle. As I mentioned, he looks a bit like Harris Andrews carrying the ball, and that's one thing that I'm quite impressed by. He possesses a booming kick, which is great. He helps connect the lines. Not many key defenders can go end-to-end like he does, which is important. I think it's a player North Melbourne need. Having played every key position post over his junior career, that's given him versatility. It makes him versatile at his roles, as his extended adaptability around the field. Threadgold has had to be switched into attack when the game was on the line. He also spent time rucking for Stir at under 16 level at the state program. He was a ruck forward before, obviously, like I mentioned, developing into a key defender. Improved decision making. I don't think that is actually one that's a problem personally for his size, speed, and what he does. He shows great willingness to take off from the defense into attack. With ball in hand, he can refine his end product, which I don't think is a problem, as I mentioned. He went on to enhance his instincts coming into the season to better use his kicking, which sometimes technically erratic, which is, I don't agree with that one. For his speed and size, I think he does quite well. He didn't make many mistakes from what I've seen. I don't think they've watched enough of his game. but also will help balance out his defensive attacking contributions. In the 14 SANFL under 18 games, he landed single-digit disposals 6 times, although players a role that... Okay, whoever wrote that, he doesn't play a role where he's looking to get touches. He's looking to stop his opponent getting touches. It doesn't matter if I don't really need to hear if he's had more than 10 disposals in a game, how many games or whatever. That's not his role, and I think we need to stick to what his role is. And that's why we do this podcast, because I write my own notes and I add in what I think is actually a bit better expertise and advice on that. So that covers Blake Threadgold very well. Best on ground SANFL grand final winner. State championships undefeated team. I know he only played the one game, but he looked good, didn't look out of place, and he won the championship alongside his undefeated side. That covers you, mate. Shout out to a South Australian, Sturt, creating great talent they have for a long time. I had to lucky enough that when I played against Sturt, it was us and Sturt that were always top in my grade. So I got a lot of respect for the Sturt Football Club. Hugo Makundo. I think I buggered that up, but stand 180 centimeters. I like to look at this guy. I think, where did he go out? What pick was it? Let me just double check his pick, because it was an absolute steal at pick 48. I think I like the way this guy played. I don't know if I had him in my top 30, but I think he arguably could have been there. He's a dangerous small forward, folks. In the midfield option, he has capabilities to impact games and the need to accumulate higher possessions and numbers. He has an X factor. He was Geelong Falcons prospect. Hugo Makundo is a signing forward/midfielder who perhaps doesn't get enough recognition, as he deserves, as I just mentioned. I quite rate him. However, he can play his role really well. His ability to hurt oppositions is evident. He also uses the ball quite well, helping set up his teammates. He's also good at ground level, picking up the ball off his feet. Beginning his football journey with Bell Park Dragons, Makundo was a standout as an underage footballer, where he was eventually represented the Barwon Cats in the under-15s V-Line Cup in 2022. He had a strong 2023 season with Bell Park's under-16 side. Eventually moved up to the under-18 side for the rest of the season, managing 2 games. It was a solid year, having bounced back from a broken hand suffered earlier on in that, and also which denied him the opportunity to captain the Geelong Falcons in their games held in April. The injury also meant he was not able to put himself in the frame for Vic Country selection at under-16 championship level. That didn't stop him from being included in Geelong Falcons under-18 side as a bottom major, managing 12 games and 3 goals. While his season was steady rather than spectacular, despite battling injury, he showed glimpses of his talent and was named to play in the under-17s trial against the New South Wales/ACT in August. Although he was named in Vic Country's summer hub, Makundo's start to 2025 again was delayed by injuries. He suffered a setback from previous season. However, he was able to overcome them following a period of rehab, and also would work hard to make himself a better all-rounded athlete. He made his way back to the Falcon side in late April and produced a few handy performances for Werribee in consecutive weeks, firstly representing Vic Country against the Young Guns, and for the Falcons and against the Gippsland Power, secure his place in the Vic Country winter squad. Makundo played his high forward role, especially against South Australia, where he considered by many as the team's best player on the day. Such performances saw him rise up the draft boards. After training with the Falcons' traditional VFL partner Werribee, alongside several teammates, Makundo received a call-up to make his VFL debut in early August. In his first game against senior opposition, He did quite well. He had 15 disposals and 7 score involvements. Unfortunately, Makundo's season would be finished the same way it started, on the sidelines, injury, therefore unable to test at the draft combine. He models his games on the Brisbane Premiership star Zach Bailey, and also been compared to the likes of Bobby Hill. Another player who comes to mind. Also, going back a few years ago, it's Norm Smith medalist, and also Sydney Premiership player Ryan O'Keefe. Okay. Yeah, I see a bit of Ryan O'Keefe and probably Zach Bailey in him. More than Bobby Hill. Zach Bailey, yeah, I did like. I obviously watched the state championship games, and I liked the way this guy played against the top team. Thought he did quite well, and to get to where he is, absolute steal for the North Melbourne Football Club. Strengths are agility, clean hands, creativity, football IQ, impact per possession, running power, improvements, defensive pressure, scoreboard impact. Yeah, I mean, it impact the scoreboard a bit more. Defensive pressure, yeah, but I don't think they're things that he can work on. He's got good football IQ, so defensive pressure, you just got to work hard. Show a bit of that mongrel. But yeah, it's the scoreboard. Still needs to hit the scoreboard quite well. But compared to other small forwards, he's able to create opportunities with his teammates. So he's probably more of a team-first player instead of being a sneaky small forward who kicks goals, which is a great thing and attribute to have. I think he can play on the wing a little bit, this guy, as well. He also has the visions and examples. Great IQ and vision. Examples came early in the season representing Vic Country against the Young Guns. And also for the Falcons against Gippsland Power. His delivery inside 50 is always dangerous, while he finds creative ways to get the ball out of contest and into the forward line. For his side, he also wins clearances with one-touch handling also. Makundo's speed, power, also obviously is his traits, which provide to be a nightmare for the opposition defenders. Throughout the championships, he was able to break away from his opponent, lean to a mark at either half forward or on the wing. Like I mentioned, he could play some on the wing. And a leaking opportunity eventually resulting in finding his teammates inside 50. He has great athleticism for his size. His reflexes also causes a problem. His quick ball movement, which result in good scoring opportunities for his teammates. Also, always looking to improve. He's got a lot of resilience, durability. He's underutilized, but his injury layoffs and time to recover strengthens his body and anticipation for AFL football. So he's going to have to work on his body, which injuries included a broken hand, a stress fracture in his back, and a hamstring strain, which all forced him to miss crucial games throughout. And that may be why he's dropped a bit lower, because he's maybe injury prone. But I do like the way this bloke plays, so it could work out. He could end up being a great player, and they've got him as a bargain. Yeah, so he has clear strengths in the areas, improvements also. His defensive pressure, particularly as it transitions more of a small forward role. And yeah, his off-ball impact needs to be worked on to be a threat, but also has a threat in possession. And there's also a more difficult player to contain, an improvement in his sense of also scoreboard impact. He only kicked 4 goals in 2022. And Falcons' appearances over the last 2 seasons, so perhaps look to enhance more on the scoreboard impact. So just double check everything. That covers the North Melbourne Football Club. I talked a bit about their roles. I think they've got a lot of roles covered. Clarko's gone with that. Pretty happy they got Threadgold as a defender. I think that's, what I mate at North Melbourne. And the Clarko, great coach. I think he'll develop him into a good player. And I see him having a good career at North Melbourne. They're going for a couple small forwards, one of the best small forwards in the league. I think he'll be good. I think he'll have a bit of swagger in that forward line along with Lachy. I think, pretty happy with North Melbourne. I think they'll eventually get better. And they'll rise up that ladder. So, congratulations to them. And what's going to have the Adelaide podcast tomorrow. So, we're going to give yeah, I know didn't do much in the draft. I'm going to talk about who they upgraded, what they did, and what they're looking forward to. So I hope everyone has a great night, and thank you.